because.
Hello,
Hello, how are you?
I am good. Just trying to get,
Excellent.
Move over here, Colin, because the cord's not reaching in case we have to. Sorry, Calvin, we're just trying
Almost
to
spilled
plug
some
in.
beer.
We're just trying to
oh no,
plug in.
don't do that.
No kidding.
Okay, all right, there you go, you're plugged in. All right, hi, Calvin.
Hi, I'm just trying to
Okay.
get my screen sharing here.
Yeah, we just thought we'd start seeing if we can make sure we can get on.
Well, that's kind of what I'm doing as well. Can you see
Yeah.
the computer screen?
Yeah.
Yes,
What are you seeing?
20 Magnawa. Yep. Meeting will start shortly.
Okay, good. All right, perfect.
Oh, nice fish.
Yeah. All
You
right.
guys get rain today?
Yeah, we had a thunderstorm actually that just rolled through here about an hour. I'm in Jordan right now.
all right, yeah, we're in Southampton.
Yeah.
Are we the first on, Calvin?
No, there's right now there's 6 people on.
Okay, good, good.
I'm just accepting people as they're showing up. You know, we're still 10 minutes early, but that's good. Hello, I see Dale there.
Hi.
Hi. You can see the screen okay? There's a bunch of pictures?
Yep,
Perfect.
looks good.
Awesome. Not exactly a wizard at this Zoom stuff, but
I'm not
hopefully
either.
well. Well, we got seven people on here, and we're still over 5 minutes away, so that's a good sign. My daughter did this presentation for me.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, some nice pictures there.
I didn't know I could be the first lady. She made history.
She was more popular than
The
president.
new CNN original series, First Ladies, Michelle Obama.
Put your Sunday at 10 on CNN.
My reputation was trashed online. I felt completely helpless. My entire career and business were in jeopardy. I called Reputation Defender.
Is that CNN we're listening to?
Yeah, it is. Actually, I thought I don't know what I'm at, but, you know, I kind of like looking at myself here. You know, I can see you very clearly and I can see Adele Duffy, you
Uh-huh.
know,
Well,
but I'm also watching all this other photo stuff come up.
good.
A lot of
That's the way it should be.
soldier pics.
So
That was your intent. Oh, good for you.
So Brent, you see where you're able to mute yourself if you have to?
Yeah,
Down
do
on
it
the
now,
That's going to
Brent.
have to happen.
No, just
Yeah, I see the thing. Mute my audio.
yeah.
Do I want to do that?
Well, unless you
did.
want to speak, then we'll unmute, because if everybody has got their the mute unlocked, then it's going to be pretty noisy. So we're going to get everybody to be on mute unless they want to speak. Oh, it sounds like you've already turned it off.
Okay. All right. I'm back. I'm back. I know you missed me.
Hey,
Yeah,
they
we
needed
did.
to mute last night.
So there's 7 participants so far.
You can see the list down there.
Yeah, I got Kelvin, Dale Duffy, Darren Dobby, Diane's iPad. So I guess that's Diane Cunliffe, Rose Ziegler, and Tyler from Brecken Hunt Club.
Okay, good. I've just got people wanting the link.
Right, so
Copy link. Hopefully that
I
was.
should turn this off, eh? Probably turn that off. Or just leave the volume. There. He's just inviting us to the meeting. We're already here.
Yeah, no, I just in case Eric or anybody needed it. A bit of a reminder.
those people disappeared.
I don't know. Up here.
Yeah.
No, I was just playing
Oh, okay.
people's pictures showed up. I don't have any screenshots of people. All 2 of you.
Well, if people are on the phone, you're just going to see their name potentially.
We lost
Or
Kelvin.
somebody's eating dinner. They might not want to have their the screen on.
We lost his picture.
I know that. I just said that.
Ooh.
Video.
I got to figure out how to stop sharing that. Oh, there we are. Admit all. Okay.
There we are.
Roaming. Okay, we got a few more people being admitted and joining. That's
Hi,
good.
Calvin. It's Marcia.
Hi there. Hello, George. How are you?
Hello.
Good.
I'm right here.
Okay, we've got a few more. We've got 12 people on so far.
There. On the speakerphone?
Mhm.
Okay, we're still a minute away from call.
Calvin. I'll turn off. Look.
4, 6, 35, 20. That sounds familiar.
Here's sound number.
You just tried to get everybody together now, are they?
Mhm.
Steve, is that you?
Oh, that was Carl.
Oh, okay.
He's gone to turn off the TV.
This each person that signs in, I have to admit them. I wish that was automated. So everybody can see the list of people that are participants already. All right. Yeah.
So far,
Good. Everybody's got their mics muted. That's great.
I don't.
I'm going to give it to about 3 or 4 minutes after the 8 o'clock to just give people a chance to get on here.
There we go.
Nice. They haven't really started yet, eh?
No,
Not yet. Hey, Andrew.
Good evening.
How are you?
Not too bad.
That's good.
How you doing?
Excellent. Thanks.
Ted?
Good.
Andrew.
Oh, Andrew.
Yes.
Andrew Gill?
Yeah. We got 16 so far. We're getting there.
Yep. Oh, there's Bill Moore. Here he comes.
Yeah.
And Brad. Oops.
Are you there, Kelvin?
Yes, I am. Hi, how are you doing, Bill?
Good, good.
Excellent. Yeah, we've got people still signing in here. I think we've got 18 so far.
How many?
18.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep.
Can you see me?
No, just your name when you talk lights up.
How do you, I mean, I've done lots of Zoom meetings, but I haven't perfected or mastered the art of it. How
Neither
do
have
I
I.
get the my picture up? Doesn't matter.
There's down on the bottom left, there should be a mute button and a start and
Yeah.
stop video. And if you're on your phone, Bill, it'll be down there, the same place as well.
Unable to access camera. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's fine.
Who's Gordon Kirby?
That's me.
Is that the,
Members.
that's the is that the Ute guy? Okay.
I should be, I think I'm on, aren't I?
Yes, you are, Gord.
Okay, good. I'm driving, so I called in.
Okay, perfect.
Good
Okay,
work,
well,
Colin.
we're about 4 minutes after here, 18 participants. I'll continue to add people as we go. Just a couple of ground rules before we start. If everybody can have their mic on mute, unless you want to speak, that would be great. Somebody put their hand up here, but I'm not sure who that is. It's the number 165794. You can unmute yourself if you like. Do we have Jim Davies on yet? Jim, are you on? Okay.
I talked to him about 7 o'clock and he said he was jumping on.
Okay. Just bear with me. I'm just trying to see if I've got anybody else in the waiting room. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen here.
We're gonna phone JD and tell him to get on.
Yeah, well, he just sent me a message actually and asked me what the sign-in was. And I sent it to him. So can everybody see the screen that are on
Sent it
right?
to him about 4 times.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks good, Kelvin.
You can see that? Okay. There we go.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay. The interesting thing is, how do I advance this? Oh,
Is
there
that
we go.
Simon? Simon's there.
Okay.
I put that in, but I just got a whole list of different topics. So it didn't put me into this.
And it didn't go on the desktop, eh?
No, that's what I did.
I hear Carl and Marcia.
Speaking.
Hello,
Hi.
is that Wendy?
No, it's Liz from Utah.
Wow.
Oh,
Stuck
Liz.
in quarantine in Utah, you lucky blank, blank, blanks. I might be moving to Canada real soon, guys.
yeah. Google was pretty
over here.
busy with the applications.
Put a table.
Hello,
in.
Eric Huffman just joined.
Hey, Eric, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Excellent, thanks. We're going to get started here really shortly here. Just trying to get Jim online. If he can't get on, I'll be able to do it anyway. So,
Look at you, Joe. You're gonna have to sit up or put this back.
hello, Jane. Hi, Joe.
And Joe. Hi.
All right, so we're going to get started. As people continue to roll in, hopefully I'll be able to add them. I have the first screen showing the sign-in information. Does everybody see that all right?
Yes,
should-
Kelvin.
Okay, yeah.
What should it look like?
I can see it. Web and
just
phone
the-
info.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you got that.
Now I just got to figure out how to advance these pages. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to go through stuff fairly quickly. And if you have a question and you don't want to interrupt at the moment, please make a note of it and don't forget to ask. And after each section, I'll stop and if anybody wants to speak, then they can go ahead and do that. So on this slide, you should be seeing the Magnanowan Pioneer Association Board and myself, Jim Davies, Eric, Marilyn Marcia. Brent's our past president, and we have 2 open spots that we certainly welcome any others to join the board. The next page here is getting into our agenda items. And the first thing I'd like to do is get approval for the minutes from last summer. I had attached those minutes to a previous email, so hopefully.
Better, it would be better. Get a cushion behind your back, honey.
Okay, so if I could, the way this is going to work, if you are a member of the Magnanowan Pioneer Association in good standing, I need somebody to move to accept the minutes from last summer, and then a seconder.
Second,
And
Joe.
I'll
Just sign
record
in.
that.
Turn the video on.
Chris, are there any comments on the minutes? Any changes? Anybody have any comments from the minutes from last summer? I think it's all fairly straightforward that we have.
Louder.
Good. Could I get somebody to move that we accept the minutes from last year?
Calvin, it's Colin Cunliffe.
Colin.
I to accept the minutes from last year's.
Okay, and a seconder?
I think somebody just did.
Oh.
Huh? Can do
I'll
that.
second that. It's Brent.
Brent, thank you. Okay, moving on. Minutes have been accepted. Anybody opposed? Okay, not hearing any opposals, then those minutes are approved. The next is the financial update. I'm hoping Jim is joined us.
Yeah.
Excellent. Can you see the computer screen?
No, but I have copies of them in front of me.
Okay, so we're right now showing page 1, the
Right.
Association Comparative Income Statement.
Right, okay.
Do you want to go through?
Well, I imagine if people have seen, did people get these in advance?
Yes, they did.
Yes, so does anyone have any questions about them?
Okay, well, let's go through the sheets. If somebody sees
Sure.
something, this page 1, we have actual from January 1st to 2019 to December 31st. And the first.
Yeah, I
column.
decided we would do it that way again. It just somehow it works better. But then provide an update until, just a week or so ago.
Okay. So the second page, Jim, is what I'm showing now is as of the end of the year 2019 and as of September 22nd, 2020.
Name?
Yeah.
Oh, just because I was the first person I saw.
So Jim, you've got the second page there. Do you want to?
Yeah, yep. No, I mean, I put everything in the notes there. It's pretty straightforward. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
So basically, at the end of 2019, we had $4,100 in the bank. As of September 22nd, we have $4,700 in the bank. Actually, that's up a little bit. We've had a few more dues come in, so I think we're just over 5,000 at the moment here on September 30th.
And we're going to get our road grant.
Yep.
So we'll have around $7,000
with the road grant. Yeah.
And we won't buy a bit of gravel.
Here's page 3, Jim, showing the checking account, the current balance at September 22nd.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I just like to do that to show that it agrees with the bank, right?
Right.
So then that's our audit. So the bank agrees with our balance sheet. So I'd like to see that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's Liz Poulter here. I just have a question. I noticed on the first page that there was $700 and odd for a legal cost. There it is in 2019. Yes. Curious, what was our legal cost towards?
Well, we had to incorporate.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had to incorporate. I actually forget why. If Maggie's on the phone, she probably would.
Maggie is on. Yeah.
Yeah. Why did we incorporate, Maggie?
So we had to incorporate in order to maintain our status as a not-for-profit within the Ontario Not-for-Profit Corporations Act. And incorporating allows us to have director and officer liability insurance as a not-for-profit. So it was incumbent upon us to ensure that we were in compliance with the rules and regulations of the province. And unfortunately, we're actually a bit late in doing so. We should have done so in 2017, 2018, but had a few hiccups and then did that last year.
Great, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, and the good thing about it is it's a one-time cost, right? So we are incorporated. We don't have to be incorporated again. So
Okay, Jim, I've got the notes from the financial statements up on the screen.
yeah,
You've got them?
I have them in front of me. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on the notes?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, I mean, obviously our fees were up. So, you know, I was looking back at how many people paid fees last year, and we're up 2 or 3 people, maybe even 4 this year. So that's, you know, that's why our revenue is going up. I think more people are paying their fees, and so that's why revenue is up. Note 2, we're still expecting our road grant. It should be a couple of $1,000 as it was last year. Kelvin was saying we do have 4,700, maybe just over $5,000 in the bank now, and we probably will buy some gravel this fall as it can be delivered. Whereas in the spring, there's weight restrictions on the bunny trail. So if we needed a bunch of gravel in the spring and we didn't have it at Black Lake, we would have to pay more to have it delivered. They'd have to go around the bunny trail. So I think the past boards have just brought the gravel in the fall. So we have it if we really need it. We had 7 loads of gravel at the landing, and we used 5.
Actually, Black Lake, we had it.
Sorry, at Black Lake, and we used 5. So we want to bring it back up to 5. We want to bring our inventory back to 5 loads. So, which is plenty, I believe. Yeah. And note 4 about FOCA fees and insurance. So during the changeover from Joe Gill doing the books to me doing the books, bills weren't arriving. You know, they were going to the wrong addresses. So we had to catch up with those in 2019. So now they'll just be the half. They'll be what they were this year. Note 5 shows legal expenses. Again, was that incorporation, a one-time expense. Our miscellaneous expenses had $1,000 in donations to COVID relief. You know, we wouldn't expect to have that every year. I don't think we will have it next year. But we thought it was important to put a face to ourselves and to say, okay, here we are helping out. Although it was quite a bit of money, but we certainly won't have such a high expense in the miscellaneous side next year. And note 7 was just that we spent a heck of a lot of money in 2019, but we were able to do that because we didn't spend a penny in 2018. So I don't even think we had a road week that week, or that year, sorry. So we took a lot of money into 2019. We raised our normal amount of money and went into 220 with the 4174. So as the treasurer, I would say we're in pretty good shape, actually. So we'll have some money going into the spring in case there's any emergency things. And so, you know, I feel quite comfortable with our current financial position.
Any questions? Any comments? Feel free to speak your mind on this one, especially.
Good work, Jimmy. I like it.
Thanks, William. Yeah, I enjoy doing it, so it's fun.
Okay, so this is another required approval of the minutes. So we've got the financial update. Everybody in the association was given a copy of it prior to the meeting. I need somebody in good standing to move the motion to accept the financial update?
I'll move.
Thank you, Marcia.
Oh, it was Dale.
Oh, sorry, Dale. You sound like Marcia. And a seconder,
I'll second it. This is Marcia.
Marcia. Okay.
That's good.
Is there anybody opposed? Having no opposals, that motion is carried. The financial update is now approved. And we now move on to our agenda item number 4, which is our worship, Mayor George Cromie. And I believe, George, you're on?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. We can hear you loud and clear, and we certainly appreciate you making the time to come to our AGM virtual Zoom call. And a couple of hot button items I've asked you to maybe speak to, and then we'll take some questions, and hopefully you could be on your way in not too long a period of time. So
Okay,
over to you,
well,
George.
Thank you, Calvin. I appreciate the invitation. As some of you will be able to see me on the screen, I guess I'm not quite as well attired as I am in that particular picture, but anyway, I am up at our place on Owashkash. So anyway, I'm pleased to be able to join you, and I commend you for your hard work to all of you to keep your particular part of the municipality in good shape and protect the environment and so on. I was asked to comment on a couple of things. The first one is the dam at the outlet of Kashagaba, and the second one is the matter of the various goings on. Camping's maybe not the right word for it, but the various goings on at Black Lake and Round Lake and so on. So I'll just tell you I'll give you a very brief update on what I know, and then maybe there'll be some discussion afterwards if there's time. When I first joined Whitestone Council back in 2014, I became aware that the subject of the condition of your dam had been raised with the council. I know that because there's actually a small reserve fund that the municipality had put up, had maintained, and it's still there to perhaps go towards some repairs to the dam. But in any event, last year, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry approached us and said, we're looking at the possibility of doing something to upgrade that particular dam. And they raised the question with the municipality about whether or not we would be willing to do what we did with the Owashkash Dam some years ago, which was to take over responsibility of the dam, ownership and responsibility from the ministry. They have a very large, if you don't know this, they have a very large number of dams that they look after in Parry Sound District, and they're trying to divest themselves of some of the sort of less critical ones, in particular the ones that are not control dams. In any case, we were kind of non-committal, but we said, well, it kind of depends on what you think, what we all think needs to be done to the dam. So the ministry launched an environmental assessment. It's a Class B environmental assessment, and put out tenders to consulting companies to come in and investigate what might be done, what options existed to repair it, and so on. And so that work has now essentially been done. It was done by an engineering company called WSP, and they provided reports to at various stages if their work last fall. And I did go to some meetings that the MNR had about the project, just to keep up to date on what's going on. And finally, they submitted a report with recommendations. And I haven't actually seen the final report, but the ministry was sort of in the process of considering this internally when COVID-19 hit, and everything kind of ground to a halt. So knowing that you were having this meeting tonight, I asked the project engineer for an update, and I received something just earlier this week. And I'll just read you what he says. I'll send a copy of this to Kelvin so he can circulate if he chooses. But essentially, he said the environmental assessment screening is complete, and a draft public notice for this Category B project is under review. The public notice will provide opportunity for public input. We are preparing to send notices to stakeholders, and I'm assuming that you all would be stakeholders, and they know about the existence of your organization and so on. So the design under consideration is to build a concrete weir dam downstream of the existing dam. In other words, use the existing dam kind of like a copper dam, but while the construction's going on, but leave it there when it's finished, not demolish it. The draft design report is under review by MNRF Regional Engineering. The new structure will replace the existing timber crib dam structure and will ensure water levels in Cashagaba Lake are similar to existing conditions. And it says the municipality's concerns have been considered and addressed, which I guess is just a reference to the fact that I got invited to go to the meetings and look at watch what they were doing. And then he concludes by saying, in the past, the MNRF has been given the impression that the municipality of Whitestone may be willing to take over the dam if it is rebuilt. At this time, we're looking for resolution or commitment from the municipality regarding their willingness to acquire the dam.
Vancouver, 1983.
So that is the status of that project. When they are ready to go public with the EA, we will have the latest version of all the documents. I have seen progress reports and reports from the consultants and so on, but I don't have the final recommendations yet. They tend to keep these things very close to their chest until people, they being the ministry, until everybody internally kind of signs off on it. When of course we don't have any idea what it would cost, but I think the assertion here is that the Ministry of Natural Resources will fund the capital cost of replacing the dam if the municipality is willing to take it on. And I guess in previous discussions, council has certainly indicated a willingness to entertain that idea based, I guess, on some information about what we would be looking at in terms of expected lifetime for the dam and you know, the cost that we might end up incurring to inspect it and maintain it. And you can appreciate, I know that because of the location of it, and it's kind of inaccessibility for, you know, for roads and heavy equipment and concrete and all those other things, it's not going to be a cheap project. And we had quite a bit of discussion offline with the consultants and the project engineers about about how, you know, possible ways to reduce the construction cost of concrete at the far end of Cache Lake. So anyway, that's about all I can tell you. I would expect that what will happen is that, and I don't know when, especially because of the you know, the effect that the pandemic is having on meetings and things, but what normally happen with a project like this is that they would hold an open house, perhaps in Dunchurch or someplace, or maybe Ardbeg, I don't know. They would hold an open house and people could come and ask questions of the engineers and look at the various findings in the reports and so on, and they would collect some public input. That's part of the environmental assessment process. So I don't know if that's, I expect that will happen in some form. It may happen electronically. I would not want to speculate as to when it would happen. I guess it could be later this fall, although, because I think they're pretty much ready to do it, but they might hold it off until the spring of next year, given the rate at which things like this other things are progressing.
Well, I think our association, George, would be also willing to help with ferrying engineers and material, or whatever we can get and whoever we can get to help volunteer with a situation like that. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to mention that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they're certainly interested in getting input from you folks as to ways to mitigate the cost. Typically, it isn't possible for volunteers to actually participate in the construction because of liability and other such things. So I'm not sure how far that would go. But in any case, that's sort of the latest up to date as of Monday of this week, the information that I have on that project. The other item, which is I sort of more of a, I guess more of a can of worms in some ways, situation of that has been taking place at and I think the main area of concern is really Black Lake and Round Lake, that particular area. And we've been concerned about this for a number of years without having a great deal, we being the municipality, without having a great deal that we can do about it. The reason for that is that the area in question is Crown land, and we have a limited ability to regulate, to enforce municipal bylaws and so on Crown land. And that's just because of the way the various legislation is structured, and the way that the Ministry of Natural Resources handles their their responsibilities for it. So, and by the way, I know that we have received, and I have shared with council the correspondence that has come from some of you. I'm not sure if it's anybody who's on this call, but various people from your community have written in complaining about this just very recently. And they also complained about some stickers that were placed on trailers right just this side of the landing. And interestingly, just, you know, the people who put those stickers there actually do not belong to they don't work for the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. They used to back years ago, but in the last couple of years, that function, their parks and conservation reserves were transferred to the Ministry of Environment, which is now the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. So it's a different part of the bureaucracy, and there is a small area which is just up the road from the actual landing that is in the Mawashkesh-Niskut Conservation Reserve. And so a couple of enforcement guys who work for the Ministry of Environment Conservation and Parks went out there and put tags on trailers because you're not allowed to park equipment, cars, trailers, or anything on the conservation reserve lands without a permit. Now, they didn't ask anybody about it, anybody else about it. And I think they have sort of since backed off on their threats to remove stuff, but there's obviously some discussion that we need to have to figure out what the proper solution to that is, because it's becoming quite apparent that there's not enough, there isn't enough parking space at the landing itself. And by the way, that's a typical situation. I had mentioned to Calvin previously that we're dealing with exactly the same situation at the two Wawashkesh public landings, except that they are on Crown land for which we have land use permits, and so the matter is more under the municipality's control than it is in your case. And in your case, the municipality owns the actual landing itself, the piece of property that abuts Bulger Lake, but it only goes back as far as the shore road allowance goes, and then you're into, for a short distance, you're into the conservation reserve, and then you're back into just regular ordinary Crown land, which is administered by Ministry of Natural Resources. So just to make things complicated. Anyway, the main concern, of course, that started all this, I guess, was the conditions at Black Lake and Round Lake. Unconstrained camping, mudding, as folks with the jacked up four-wheelers and Jeeps and so on refer to it. And they're doing damage to I don't think there's any question they're doing damage to the environment. They've been starting fires. They've been there's alcohol and drug abuse, and there is speeding on the trail that leads there from Clear Lake Road, which, as some of you have heard, resulted in a fatality and several injuries this summer. So we approached back in before the start of the summer, we approached the Ministry of Natural Resources and said, look, we need to talk about this. And unfortunately, they didn't have anybody really in charge of the Parry Sound District at the time. So that didn't go anywhere, but there is now a new district manager who is has indicated willingness to have these conversations. So I think that's going to happen sometime this fall. We're keeping the pressure on them to follow up with this. And I guess the intention is to look at ways to try to improve the situation without expending a huge amount of money, because none of the participants who would normally be involved in enforcing any sort of rules around this property have surplus resources. The Ministry of Natural Resources, we tried to get the Ministry of Natural Resources and the OPP to go in there this summer and do some and mount a presence, and they basically said we can't. I know they did show up a couple of times briefly and laid some charges, mostly liquor and drug charges, I gather, but their official position is that we just don't have resources to police this. And of course, the municipality doesn't. We rely on the OPP, and we are involved because our fire and rescue goes back to deal with any fires or accidents that happen in the property, in the territory in question. We're sort of the first line of response. And if the situation is more serious than they can deal with, then they call in either the OPP or the M&R, sometimes they might have to bring in water bombers to put out a fire, or they might have to send in Orange to airlift somebody out to hospital who's injured, or that sort of thing. But we have the municipality has the responsibility for the first line of defense. So anyway, I wish I could tell you that I have a solution or a proposed solution. I don't at this point. The objective right now is to try to get a meeting of the various participants together and see what we can come up with. And then probably we will have to go the political action route and try to get the province to kick in some resources to help do various things. One possibility that has been considered is to try to make the campground at Black Lake a proper campground. In other words, put up some washroom facilities and some campsites and so on, and maybe require people to get permits to use it. Maybe try to stop the sort of casual use, the casual camping, people running up and down the hydro corridor, who are the ones that are typically causing the problem. At least that's my impression. You know, there are various things, and the other thing, again, and I've indicated this to your president, that we are certainly willing to talk about what we can do to help with the situation at Bolger Landing itself, which is really a separate situation. It seems to me, and I'm hoping to get back this fall to take to some of our staff just to take a look at the situation myself. What it seems is that there is not sufficient space for parking of vehicles and trailers and so on for the people that are using that landing, which includes not just you folks who have residences there, but also people who hunt and fish there and are casual users, you know, wilderness campers and so on. And there is nothing to stop us from applying to the government for a land use permit for a bigger piece of that particular you know, that Crown Reserve that's there, the conservation reserve, that could be dedicated for parking. I will say that one of the things that the folks from Environment Conservation Parks were upset about was the fact that someone had gone and cleared, they said a couple of acres, I don't know if they're exaggerating or not, but a couple of acres of wooded area to make a parking lot, to expand the parking lot. And that was park land. And of course, they didn't get a permit to do that. They could have, or they could have tried, but they didn't try. And so, but I think at the end of the day, common sense will prevail. And if we did go collectively to them and asked for, you know, for an area to be designated for that, for the purpose of parking trailers, which typically you want to get away from, you know, away from the landing itself, so it doesn't interfere with people loading and unloading and putting their boats in and out of the water. They would probably agree to that, and then it would all be legit. It's just a question of finding what is the most appropriate place that does the least environmental damage, and getting them to go through and sign off on it. So, and it takes a while, but it can be done. So that's my suggestion, and the ministry has indicated a willingness to cooperate with, or sorry, the municipality is willing to cooperate in helping you to get that done.
We appreciate that, George. And
So I'll stop and so I don't take the whole rest of your meeting. I will stop and you can allow questions if you wish, Mr. Chair, or if you want to defer them to later and see if you have time. I don't mind. I'm not in a hurry. I'm not going anywhere. So
Well, we welcome you to stay on the call, and there may be something else that may come up. I do have a bit of an update on the trailer situation. I have been talking to Ian and Nicholas at the MOE, and you're exactly right. They've indicated that their notice of 30 days is going to be extended. They're going to give this to me in writing. They are not going to seize any trailers. We are going, as an association, are going to make an effort to reduce the number of trailers to 0 if possible. We are also going to work with the municipality to see if there's an area that can be used that's outside the conservation area, but is along the easement, the 66 feet easement that is municipality area, and possibly apply for permits for additional parking space within the conservation area. So we have some options. I've committed to working with them, and they are giving us the appropriate time to deal with the trailer issue. This all did get raised last year when they were addressing the trees that had been removed some 4 or 5 years ago. And they noticed the trailers. They didn't make it an action item for us to do anything with them. However, they felt coming back a year later that there would have been some progress. And obviously with COVID, we've got 30% of our association members that are in the US. You certainly can't deal with trailers until COVID's over. Most of the cottagers that have trailers either have left for the season or they can't get up because of COVID. And there's already precedent set for the province in indefinitely suspending the requirement for things like driving permits. So the management at the MOE took all of that into consideration, and I'm waiting for the actual letter in writing from them that we've got time to deal with this properly, and we will. So thank you for your comments about the dam, George. It's much appreciated. I've also been in touch with the WSP. They've been nice enough to call me and give me an update as well. So they're working with us, which is good. This is all going to come down to, once all the approvals and the legal stuff is done, it then becomes a question of the politics, the priority of getting this dam sorted out, and budgeting, that sort of things all will become into play. And so the timing of when this will all happen is difficult to assess. However, WSP said that the dam isn't going anywhere within the next 5 years. So that's their assessment. Anyway, so there's any questions for our mayor?
It's Carl Murphy here. I do have one, if I can raise this one. It's part of the Black Lake, Round Lake issue with so many people there using those locations. They're starting, because it's filled, Black Lake and Round Lake are filled, they're now starting to come into Bolger. And I know this because just behind our cottage, they've been coming in, I'd say maybe the last 2 or 3 years. And whenever Whitestone has a fire limit where you can't have any fire at all, they're still having fires here. Now I've gone and got the Whitestone Fire Department to come in, and they made the fellows put the fire out, but they didn't charge anybody. It was more of a warning. On another occasion, there was a crowd back behind us again with another fire while there was to be no fires. And this was getting to the point now where we were nervous about, they had 3 fires going and it's all pine trees behind us. And we're just concerned that the west wind is going to blow it into our place. Well, what happened was I ended up calling the ministry, and they sent 2 people in from Amick Lake. They were working on another case at Amick Lake, and then they came here at 11 at night. I went over and picked the two ministry people up. They went over and talked to the people that were having the fire, and of course they denied they they had any fires, and they wouldn't give their names out. So the ministry guys talked to them, asked me to go back into my boat, so I wasn't part of it, but I was far enough away that I could still hear them, and they couldn't see me. But anyway, the outcome was that they found where the three fires were. They charged them $600, and that's the only time I've seen anybody assert a fine on people that have no idea what they would do to our area here if that fire ever got into the pine trees. And it's really a concern to us. They're directly behind us, and I've gone over and talked to them. Stoney Roberts has gone over and talked to them, but they more or less just blow us off and tell us to mind our business, our own business. But it's becoming worse, it seems, every year, and it gets a little rowdier every year. So just from a safety standpoint and an accident destroying the beauty we have here, it's very concerning. And if there's anything you can do from the mayor's standpoint, we would all appreciate it. Thank you for hearing my complaint.
Thank you, Carl. Made note. George?
Okay, well, thanks. I'll just say very quickly that we have become very concerned about careless use of fire. I think we're in a situation with climate change and so on where the risks of, we're getting more severe weather extremes, and the risk of a serious forest fire like the one that we saw last year with Parry Sound 33 is greater. And so there is a concern to try to make sure that people are being more responsible. We have just amended our outdoor burning bylaw for the municipality of Whitestone. And again, we are in this somewhat unusual situation in that both we and the Ministry of Natural Resources can enforce. In our case, we're enforcing our own bylaw, outdoor burning bylaw. In their case, they're enforcing regulations under the Forest Fire Prevention Act. But the results are the same. There are quite substantial fines, and you can be fined. You can, in addition to that, be charged for equipment and time that it takes for any firefighter to put out the fire. And it is sometimes, again, because of the remoteness of the location, is by the time a complaint comes in and somebody gets out there, it may be difficult to find out who actually was responsible, where the fire was, if they put it out, or who was responsible for it if they're gone, and that kind of thing. But I think our fire chief, of course, tends to warn people for first offenses, but I think on a go forward basis, we're probably going to take a very hard line with fires in that particular area, because it's one thing if somebody is burning some brush in their backyard and they didn't realize they weren't supposed to, but when there's a total fire ban, a total fire ban is a total fire ban. We've had them this year and last year, and they shouldn't be. They should really be rigorously enforced, and I dare say the MNR would do a better job of it if they had more resources, but they don't. Anyway, we take your comments seriously. I just want you to know.
Thank you. Appreciate what you do for us all.
And there's been a number of times, just so the members know, that there's been a number of times that I've called our mayor over the summer. And I have to thank you, George, for being so responsive. We had a trailer that probably had close to 50 garbage bags in it. And I called you and your concern, and the thing was gone. And so I do appreciate your efforts and what you're doing and being proactive and responsive to our concerns. I do appreciate that. Any other questions for our mayor? All right. Having not heard any further, if you do have another question that comes to mind, George, I'm hoping you can stay on, and if there's any discussion here that you want to add input to in the rest of our agenda, please feel free. Okay. Action or agenda number 5 is a request to, or an invite to have a new board member or two. We do have 2 open spots on the board. We can operate as is, but we would prefer to have a full roster. Is there anybody that would be interested in becoming a board member? If not now, certainly get in touch with me if you're interested, if you want to find out what's involved, a bit more detail. In that regard, we would certainly welcome new board members. So,
Calvin?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah, what I would say about being on the board is it's not really a lot of work. You know, like you don't really give up too much of your time to do it. So it's not like you're gonna be swamped with being on the board. So anyway.
It's just nice to have additional opinions and
Well, exactly, and that's all we're looking for. We're like, I think when maybe sometimes when we ask people to be on the board, they think, oh geez, that's going to be a lot of work. It's more, we just want your input. Like, you know, we're you and I are on Kashigaba, and we like to have people on all the lakes, right? Portage, Boulder. So, but it really isn't a big commitment.
So give it some thought. Let us know if by the end of this call you would like to be on the board. We can take a vote and add you at the end of the call. Give it some thought. Okay, moving on to agenda number 6. There's 5 different things I'd like to speak to on this.
Hopefully it's going to end. Otherwise, yes.
I'll do it.
What's that? Sorry, Jane?
Sorry. Private caught.
Okay. So just a review of the road work, and we certainly appreciate the municipality of Whitestone's contribution each year to the cost of keeping this road into Bolger passable. Certainly been a lot more difficult with the additional traffic and those that just don't care about how hard we work at keeping that road passable so that we're not damaging our vehicles. But in the last couple of years, I think we've got it to a point where it's acceptable. I don't think we want it to be like a highway, that's for sure. But for now, I think we've got it in a good spot. We need to keep at least 5 loads of gravel at the ready in case there's a washout or somebody rips up a hill like they have in the past. But I'm open to any comments on the road.
Some are legitimate grievances, some are made up, but the time to call for exercising.
Calvin, do we know how many people that are cottagers or have recreation camps have paid for the road this year? I'm just wondering if it's equal to past years or if the amount is higher or lower.
Well, this year, Maggie, we actually sent out a list. Everybody received a list of those that have paid their dues this year, and we wanted to thank them. And we've actually got, as you'll see on this agenda, another 4 families that have contributed. But you should have that list, and it's wide open there for you to see.
Yeah, I do have
Yeah,
the list. I just don't know what the level was in comparison to past years. Like if that actually helped to
Okay.
perhaps bring more people out, or if people are still reluctant to pay their dues, and if we know why.
I can speak to that a bit. I'd say we've had 4 more members pay this year. And I think it's just because we're a little more out there now, and you know, there's obviously more people in there as well. So, but yeah, by the looks of the revenue, and I did count last year, you know, we have some members that they just pay a bit. I'm not sure how that works, and there's some members that the majority of the people pay the full pull. So I think last year, I'm talking 2019, I think we had around 36 people pay, and we might be at around 39 paying the full $295 or $250, depending on, I believe people with is it lifetime memberships, or I don't think they have to pay the membership fee to $45.
Yeah.
But they pay the $250. But then we have a number of small donors that just pay $45, or just pay what they're able to pay, I guess, you know. We don't have any legal right of collecting money off people. But I think what we have to do is talk to our neighbors. And if they're not paying, maybe ask them to help us pay out. Like, really, why should people use that road without helping to maintain it? And that's all the fees are about. They're about keeping the road passable, basically. And now, of course, we have really nice docks, which has been a great improvement. But, you know, we have more people using it. And when it comes down to parking and parking trailers, and, you know, the municipality or whoever has sold this property to people back in the 30s or whenever it was sold, I mean, if you've sold us property and we need to park, then you have to let us find a place to park people, or else don't sell us property. You know what I'm saying? You can't sell someone a property but you can't park anywhere. So
I think we're going to find a resolve with that.
That's how I look at the parking situation. I mean, how many lots are there on Bulger and Cashy? And so if you sold 90 lots back in the 30s, you got to be able to park 90 cars.
I will say there is, with the parking, Jim, vehicles in the secondary parking, the overflow parking, which is on the conservation area or in the conservation area, are not going to be receiving tags or anything, because there's a 21-day allowance. And typically vehicles are never more in for more than 7 days. So
no, unless you're Bill Moore, you've got the whole summer off.
Yeah.
Sorry. Are you awake?
So the other thing too is that I don't know if you know, but there has been also a sign put up just before you make that hard right turn into towards the Bulger Landing. That's where the boundary for the other side of the conservation is. Have a look for it when you're coming in. You'll see it. It's on the left-hand side. Okay. We're at 9 o'clock. I'm mindful of the time. So I'm going to carry on. We talked briefly a bit about the docks. We had, at one point, we had to, there was signage that the dock was unsafe and not to be used. That's all been resolved. The issue of the private dock, in a spirit of cooperation and to get an agreement there, agreed that, at least in the board, that the parking on the south side of the newest dock would be left open as much as possible, and for the former owners of the private dock, that would be typically where they would come in to park if they're going out for the day. But there is lots of room on the other side, on the north side. We've got now extra space in between the docks so that two boats can actually launch or unload. So as Jim would put it so eloquently, the past owners of the private dock, we have your back on this. The south side is somewhat reserved for you. We have not had any problem with the day parking policy, so that will continue. And I think we're in good shape. I don't think we need to spend any more money on the docks for now, and they're nice and safe. As far as the maintenance at the landing, I've put out a couple of notices about garbage. I think that issue is going to be resolved now. Last week we had garbage removed at our cost, and I don't think that's going to happen again. I've also put signage up that under no circumstances should there be any dumping at the landing, so keep that nice and clean. Now, there's one other issue that we need to talk about, and that is boats that get sunk, or at least they're on an angle such that the back end gets underwater, and the potential of having a gas tank turn upside down and dump all its gas into it is completely unacceptable. So having said that, this past weekend I went and reviewed all of the boats that are landing parked on the shore, and there were none that were in that state. So that was good news. I've also got a notice at the landing that boats cannot be leaking any kind of gas or oil. Now, there has been a suggestion that we build a shed to put the gas tanks in for our members. It might be a good idea, especially we've had a rash of people stealing gas tanks and connectors of late. So this is something we're going to talk about at the board level. And if anybody has any thoughts on that, over to you right now.
Hey, Calvin, it's Brent. I got to tell you, I would not be in favor of something along those lines. The implications from an insurance standpoint are significant. And, you know, what would you have to do to make one right? I mean, you'd have to have, you know, like storage facilities for, you know, any kind of chemicals of that sort. It's like, that's not a shed.
I agree.
Plus access to that shed.
Yeah. Well, these are the things that we need to discuss, Brent, and it's most important that we don't have any gas or oil going into the lake. That cannot happen.
Well, I agree with that totally, but just my view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've made our mayor a promise that we wouldn't have that happening, because he doesn't want to send his bylaw officer out.
Rochelle can take gases with us. And
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Say it again if you want.
well, I was just saying, if you go shopping, you can take the gas tank with you rather than leaving it.
That might be a good suggestion if we can get the majority, especially if you're going to be away from your boat for any period of time where there might be a risk of it sinking into the water.
Yeah.
Maybe
What, Calvin?
Guidance, I think that would be reasonable to ensure that.
Hey, guys.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what Craig and I have done at our boat has sunk a few times, unfortunately. It's been rough, and so what we've done is we've put a dock box where we park our boat. So if we're going to leave the boat for any length of time, then we take the gas can and gas line out of the boat and put it in the dock box at the landing, which is just our own dock box.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on, I just want to go back to the trailers again. I'm waiting for it in writing, but we will be giving us an extension for a number of reasons that we've emailed to them. I think I've got my email at the bottom of this agenda, just so if we can have a quick look at it. But we will not have our trailers seized this fall, but we do need to address it, and whether we have an area for trailers or we simply get them all out of there, that's the goal. So I think it's good that they've giving us the time to do it properly. And, all right.
And if I could mention about trailers,
yeah,
that Sue Sinkovich is willing to store trailers on her property for very low money. I think it's $50 for the summer, but she can't have them in the winter because she needs the space for parkers and for people who snowmobile. So, I mean, and the great thing about Sue's place in Ardbeg is, number one, she lives in Ardbeg. So it helps support that local economy. And she also has 2 dogs that are very active and bark anytime anyone goes near the property. So your trailer is probably safer in Ardbeg than it is at the landing, I would say. So if you don't mind spending $50, help out a woman in Ardbeg who's a true Ardbegian, if that's the word. There's not a bad idea. You know, you bring your boat in the spring, you pull your trailer out the first weekend, your last weekend going in, you grab your trailer at Sue's and you bring your boat out. So
thanks, Jim. And we are aware that some people like to park their boats on the trailer for the winter, get them away from the shoreline. So
right.
we're considering, have to consider that as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on, the environmental side of the house. We've got, and I've provided the links for the environmental manual. It's an excellent manual. I think it's like 86 pages long. Please have a look at it. It talks about everything from outhouses to fishing to, well, just about everything environmental. And I think all of our members should take the time to have a look at it. There's also a link for the many animals, bugs, frogs, fish, all at risk or endangered, that's been provided on this agenda. And finally, there's a number of trees at risk. And I think it's good knowledge to have of what that looks like. So let's, everybody's invited to open those links and have a look. Agenda number 8. Bolger Bound 2024 is our 100th anniversary edition that we'd like to start looking at. We had one at the 50-year mark, at the 75-year mark, and now we've got in 4 years 100th anniversary. So I think what would be in order is to have a chair and create a work group that can begin designing and compiling the best Bolger Bound book that we could muster up. So don't expect people to volunteer at the moment, but we're opening this up as an agenda item, and we are looking for a chair and probably 3 or 4 to be in a work group for that. Any thoughts on that idea or about 2024? Okay, I'm just checking. Somebody has chatted here. Thank you, and I'll keep your name concealed for now. But we do have one volunteer to help with that. Thank you. So feel free to give it some thought and then to get in touch with me, and hopefully we can have a good group starting to work on that. Okay, number 9, derelict boats. What we tried to do this year was try to identify some of the boats in and around the landing that aren't used very much, and we'd like to call them derelict boats. However, what we did was we marked a lot of boats that seemed to have been there for a while with a big red X, and that certainly spurred on some communication. We've asked people, if you have a red X on your boat and it's being used, remove the X. And that way in the spring, after the hunters come up, we'll have the boats left with perhaps a red X, and we'll find a home for them that's not cluttering the shoreline. Any thoughts, any comments? Okay.
Oh, well, I thought, like, I mean, if those boats, nobody owns them, maybe the association sells them to members, and if suddenly the owner shows up, the association just gives the money back and the boat back, kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
That might be a bit hard to administer, but I think we'll do this in a way that there's enough time for people to be made aware of. Maybe we can take a picture of the boat that we consider it as derelict and share it with all of the association members, and that might help solve some of these problems as well. So we'll see how many boats are left in the spring with an X on them.
Yeah.
Our boat had an X on it this year because we had to wait for our motor to get fixed with the COVID, but John just took the X off it, I think.
And that's
when we finally got our motor fixed and in the water. But I think that's a good idea.
Well, even Don and Sandy were marked as with an X on their boat, and it was simply we're trying to figure out which ones are being used and which ones aren't.
That's right.
So, and I think by the spring we'll, if there's 5 boats with an X on it, then we'll move them out of the way, and then get rid of them if we have to. Okay, number 10, we've just got a couple more here. Number 10, the newsletter. We had no takers on wanting to be a publisher of a newsletter for the Maginetawon Association. So what I've attempted to do is provide updaters, any information that I feel should be passed along monthly, bi-monthly way. I'll be sending out the information in the way of an email. But more importantly, there's a lot of information on cottage and Ontario cottaging. So our association, our membership with FOCA, the Federation of Ontario Cottage Association, provides a monthly update as well with lots of great information. So I will continue to send those out as well. Unless we have somebody wanting to volunteer to do a more formal newsletter, we'll try to capture all of the ideas in previous newsletters, like over the portage, over the last portage, I think it's called. So, any comments, thoughts on that? Everybody okay with doing it that way for now?
I think so.
Okay. Number 11, membership and dues. For those that can see the screen, you can see the 4 additional families, cottages that have paid the dues since the notice, thank you letter went out to the members that had paid, I think it was September 22nd, Jim, that was done. I think it was. Appreciate the contribution and the support for the association, as always. That brings us to new business. And I'd like to open the floor up for any thoughts, any comments, any additional items.
Calvin, it's Carl Murphy again.
Yes, Carl.
About 2 weeks ago, we had some fishermen come in here, and there was 3 of them in a very small boat. Anyway, what happened was they ended up challenging one of the cottagers to a fight, if you can believe this. Seriously. It happened right out in front of our cottage. That's the only reason we know about it. But
Really?
People are coming in here that they don't have anything, they haven't invested anything in here. They come in, they take the fish, they take a parking spot, they leave their boat at in the parking lot. And I heard this one guy, one of the fishermen, say to one of the cottagers, "We're going to settle this right now. Let's go to shore and we'll settle this like men." And that you never saw that happening in the past. So I hope the mayor is still there.
He is, yeah.
And all of this stuff that's going on at Black Lake and Round Lake, and I think we should be concerned that they're kind of getting closer. They're encroaching further in on the bunny trail or on the hydro line. So they're getting closer to Bulger Lake. So I think it is really concerning, and we really have to try and do something about it. I mean, we're getting quite a lot of pushback about parking at the landing where people actually own property. And it seems like us trying to figure out how to park at the landing is a bigger problem than people destroying the environment just a couple of kilometers away from us.
I know.
That's the thing I'm really having trouble with figuring out is how much flack. And I understand there's rules and regulations and there's conservation areas, but I can't believe how much flack we're getting for parking at the landing where people have purchased property off the government or whoever. And we're, bending over backwards trying to figure it out, but no one's really concerned too much about people really destroying the environment. Like haven't been going up there as long as you guys, maybe 30 years or so, but the last 10 years since I actually purchased property, they have destroyed the ecosystem around Black Lake. Like there used to be lily pads in the water, and they're not going in there to enjoy the environment. They're going in there to try and wreck it. And again, I just can't believe how much flack we're getting about parking trailers that are apparently harmful to the environment. Yet no one's really too concerned about people driving these trucks that aren't even meant to be in the environment and just basically destroying it. And you can see they're making trails closer to Bulger. And that I actually believe that's our biggest challenge going forward as an association, is knocking back what's going on there. And I also am hoping that it's really because of COVID and because that people couldn't go anywhere else, that we've had this pressure put on these lakes just this year really got out of control. So I'm hoping if COVID goes, so will 40% of those people that they're not in to enjoy the environment, they're in to get a picture of their truck on a 45-degree angle on a rock. Well, congratulations,
Well, what I witnessed, Tim, when I went by Black Lake on the long weekend, this last long weekend, it was 9 o'clock in the morning, and one of these Jeeps with a 500 horsepower was about 10 feet off the shore in the water, at full power, with making as much spray and noise as he could for about 800 meters, and
Yeah.
everybody up, and it was atrocious. It just was completely against everything I believe in.
Yeah. I
Anyway.
really think that's our biggest challenge, is putting a damper on what's going on there. And I think, is Eric still on the line there? Eric?
Give him a
No?
second to unmute.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So Eric also made a very good point, as cottagers, if we build trails, then someone's going to hook into them. ATV trails. So we have to be careful not to supply them a way into our places too, even though maybe some of those trails have been there for years and years and years. So I think that was an important thought that Eric had, and certainly, I'm back at Duck Bay, and certainly we will not create any trails that might hook up with any other trails, because I don't really want an ATV guy showing up in my backyard.
Were we still looking into security game cameras
Yeah,
at
sort
the
of, Dale.
landing?
You're absolutely right. I meant to mention that. I purchased a trail camera just for our place, and to see the quality of the video and how long the batteries last and that sort of thing, before I wanted to go and buy something for the landing. Now, there is a camera there that's, I think, owned by Will, but we don't actually have a camera on the landing itself. I'm of two minds there. I don't like cameras. I don't like feeling like we have to have a camera. I don't like people being videoed, especially up in Bolger. It goes against everything we believe in.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, we might need it.
Yeah. And Calvin, I'll bring those beers back. I didn't know you were videoing me, so I'll drop them back off on your porch.
Well, I'm just wondering, because you had parts of your gas line and motor taken. That
Yeah.
same timeline, we had gas taken out of our boat, and it might deter people, or we could even put a fake one up, but they work pretty good on snapping pictures. I'm not saying put it all over, but even if you put it right, and you'd be able to see if there's strangers coming right to the ramp area.
George,
Yeah, I'm all for it.
George, do you have an opinion from a municipality point of view?
Well, I understand the concern for doing that. We've had sufficient incidences of people going to our landfill sites, for example, and when the landfill site was closed and just dumping the garbage, outside the gate or whatever.
Yeah.
That we have installed cameras at both of those sites. Did we really want to do it? No, but it's necessary once you get a certain percentage of people who don't care about the rules and don't care about the environment and so on, and that may be the situation. I don't believe we have them at any other any of our other public landings.
Okay.
But
you're not opposed.
Yours is so remote, unfortunately, that it's kind of vulnerable to that. When you go to a place that's a long way away from everything else, and you figure, well, I can you see something you want, say, oh, if I take this, nobody's going to know, right? And so there's that kind of thing. You're going to suffer some vandalism and so on if you're sufficiently remote in this day and age. And again, it depends too on, I mean, if these were people who were serious wilderness campers, as somebody said a minute ago, then I don't think you'd see this problem. And I have no doubt that some of the behavior, we're seeing other non-compliant behaviors in the population, like street racing and so on, that have escalated substantially during COVID-19. But I'm not going to stand here and tell you that this is going to go away if the pandemic comes to an end. I think, you know, as time goes on, you see more and more people who figure if they get far enough away from civilization, they can do whatever they want, and that's the attraction. They can do it with impunity, and that's the attraction. So my thought is that probably we're going to end up having to match that kind of behavior with more enforcement as time goes on. And I wish it weren't the case, you know, but I don't have another solution.
Yeah. Okay. Just this is a letter that I sent to Ian Todd just finally and Nicole that outlines some of the concerns about the trailers, and I expect to get a response very shortly to match what they have told me verbally about an extension and not seizing trailers. And I'll share that email once it comes in with all the association. Okay.
Good work.
Yeah. I would be all for cameras and signs that says they are cameras.
Okay.
I think that's a huge deterrent. Yeah.
Well, do we want to make this actually a motion? Do I have somebody moving it?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Dale. And Jim, you'll second?
Yeah.
Anybody opposed to cameras? Motion is...
Sorry, Kelvin.
Yes.
One thought around cameras. If you put a camera facing the dock or somewhere where there's a lot of activity,
Yes.
unfortunately it won't be that effective because it's just going to trigger all the time.
Yeah.
And repeat shot. What we could consider doing is putting 1 or 2 cameras along the trail and document the vehicles that go in and out and the days and times they go.
I like that.
At the very least, we would get license plates of who's coming in and out. And if we're seeing a lot of unfamiliar vehicles and there's theft around that time, we could at least send a photo of the license plate to the OPP.
Yeah, also not
Good idea, Brad. Thank you.
I just
Yeah,
picked
and
up
I
2
don't think
cameras.
our cameras should be visible. I don't think they should. They should be well hidden.
Yep, I agree.
You could mount
But
something in a tree.
I think
Yeah.
just the signs, like, you know, just signs at the landing that say you are being videoed. And of course, we do want video, but that is people aren't that stupid, you know, like, oh, you're being videoed, let's go steal the gas out of this guy's boat, you know, like, you're being videoed. So
yeah.
I think it's a great deterrent. Like,
I'll get on it. And I don't think it'll be that expensive, really.
no, not days. Yeah.
I know my trail camera was only about $70.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get, we'll see what our options are. Not having internet up there is a problem, but maybe we can get internet.
Yeah, and
he has that.
and talk to Will, because I think he has some pretty good cameras. You know, ask him what he's doing.
Good idea.
I just picked up 2 as well. They were $150 at Cabela's, and they are cell connected, so I can check them on my phone anytime.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, Brad, I'll drop your beer off too. I didn't know you guys were watching me that close.
Oh, I got lots of good pics of you, JD. You don't want those to come out.
Oh, wait
All
for the
right.
book.
Can you send me the information on those cameras? Maybe I can order it online even.
Sure, I'll send you the link.
Thank you. That brings us to the end here. Is there anybody that has a final word? Do we have a volunteer to chair a working group for the Bolger Bound? Do we have a new board member? We'll give you some more time to think about that.
Yeah.
I'd like to
Maybe.
thank everyone, especially our Mayor George Comey, for being on the call. And we've gone over a little bit here, but I think it was worthwhile. Any last thoughts before we hang up? Going once?
I just got one quick one, Calvin. I'd like to thank the executive for their continued support and their activities. It's all good, and thanks for the support to the community.
Thanks, Brent. Now I need somebody to move to adjourn the meeting. Somebody.
We're having such a good time. Nobody wants to leave.
I'll move to
Motion
adjourn.
Sorry, who was that? Is that Marcia?
It's Marcia. I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
Thank
I
you.
will second it.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Kelvin.
Bye-bye.
Great
Bye
to
now.
see you all.
Good meeting. Thanks, Kelvin.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Andrew.
Kelvin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Calvin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. Bye-bye, Joe.
Good night.
Good night, George.